Welcome back, everybody, to our third installment of the history of Transworld. We're really excited to bring you this full story from start to finish.
In today's economy, more people than ever are looking to buy and sell businesses. But how do you do it? Welcome to the Deal Board, presented by Transworld Business Advisors. Straight talk about real deals and real people. Listen to stories, interviews, and expert advice to help your business sale, merger, or acquisition process. Now, here are your business exit experts, Andy and Jessica.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. And we are continuing our story about Transworld, the history of Transworld. And it's nice to get this all in one place, Jessica. I mean, it's we've had 2 episodes so far. So if you haven't heard those, you want to go back, right?
Yeah, definitely. So we had a 2-week break. So you want to skip and you want to go back, 4 episodes passed and then 3, but we went through the very beginning history, Andy, where you interviewed all the various different owners and iterations of what Transworld was before.
Sons, daughters. It was chaotic.
But it was a fun episode. And so that's really the beginning years. And then the second part that we recently just went through was really the growth years with you and 2 of your partners, Peter and Tom, that told us the story of those heavy growth years that you really expanded quickly.
Yeah, that was fun. And that was certainly a time where we were certainly entrepreneurial. And, those are scary times for businesses. Those are times where, you're not sure whether or not you could really take it to the next level. And so that was, it's a great story. Again, just a lot of interesting twists and turns and investments. And so that's a good listen as well.
This one's really good. So now we're up to about 2010, I think, is where we're starting today.
Yeah, 2010. And of course, a little bit of thinking about why we became a franchise. And certainly we were thinking about it all 2009. And it really came from the idea of our partnership, which I talked about in the last episode with John Ruggieri in Orlando and how productive that was. And it was really a good, it was kind of our first idea of let's open up in another place, but let's have someone that is ingrained in the community. John was a leader in Orlando, still is, on the opera board. We didn't mention this but he was really a guy about town, lived in Isleworth with Tiger Woods and Shaq. And so he knew a lot of people, including a big law firm, Greenspoon Marder, which we've mentioned a few times. And we were able to partner with him. But it was more of a, informal, partnership. And we thought, but we need to do that lots of times. And if you're going to do that lots of times, what's that called, right?
Yeah, it's called franchising.
Right.
So that's where we start with our story today is 2010, when you guys get to that point and what happens after that. I think, what was really interesting for me for this interview is just looking at Transworld as a case study for businesses that do want to franchise, right? And I think then we said this in the last episode that it's really easy to look at Transworld now and you see the breadth of it across like a multinational company, hundreds of offices, hundreds of brokers, but just hearing the story from the beginning of the franchising journey and just, starting with just the Florida offices and growing from there.
Yeah, I think it's a really good case study as well, looking at the journey of an early franchise, right? So I didn't know what I was getting into, certainly, but Ray did, right? And Ray kept assuring me, and we have some fun in the interview of Ray poking fun at me and me constantly asking, when are we going to make money? But Ray knew the path, and I needed to trust him, and we did, and it's been a great journey. But again, giving away a little bit about the episode, but lots of good things come from this episode. If you want to franchise, you have to realize it's going to be a journey.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun journey. So today we've got yourself as part of the interview, Andy. We have Ray Titus, who's the CEO of United Franchise Group and your partner in the franchising space for Transworld. And we have Bill Luce, who really Bill's been around since the beginning, but he's currently the president of the brand.
Yeah. So you're going to hear how integral Bill was, and he's a partner as well. So it's really good.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump in. And then we've got one more part to this series. So make sure you don't miss next week's episode where we kind of come full circle and wrap up the full story.
You got it.
Hey, Andy, do you know what time it is? It's time for our deal of the week.
Deal of the week.
Sold.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. And it is Deal of the Week. And I have Lonnie Woodruff from Transworld Business Advisors of Central Oregon. And he just closed the deal, really nice deal. So tell us about it, Lonnie.
It was a fairly large absentee e-commerce business in the outdoor power sports world.
Nice. And we all know that e-commerce sells for a lot of money. People are always looking for e-commerce deals. So tell us how much it sold for.
It sold for $2.95 million.
Nice. And was it making money at the time?
It making a bunch of money and absentee. The owners did a good job in the last few years, scaling themselves out of business, hiring the right management, and had just a great work culture that everybody was nuts over.
Wow. So who was the buyer? Was it a strategic buyer or was it individual?
It was a guy that came out of California, the tech world, actually had the skill set to pick up a lot of low-hanging fruit for this business, and he's going to take it to new levels.
Nice. Sounds like good deals for good people. Was there financing involved?
It was actually a cash deal.
Cash deal. All right. All cash deal. I bet you had a lot of buyers on that one.
I had a lot of buyers on that. Yeah. Lots of buyers and a lot of activity, a couple offers, but this was the one that made it to the finish line.
Excellent. So if somebody wants to sell an e-commerce business, wants to talk to you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Give me a call, 541-920-9026.
Excellent, Lonnie. Thanks for being with me.
Thank you, Andy.
Welcome back, everybody, to our third installment of the history of Transworld. We're really excited to bring you this full story from start to finish. So if you're paying attention, last time we came all the way up to beginning to grow Transworld as a national brand. And before we jump into that, I want to introduce two very important people to our brand today to kind of tell us where they were at before they were introduced to Transworld. So Ray Titus, welcome to the show. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Jess.
And Bill Luce as well. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being on the deal board.
Thanks, Jess.
So why don't we start with, before you guys got introduced to Transworld, tell the listeners a little bit about what you guys do and what were your thoughts about business brokerage? Let's say, was this back probably 2009-ish, around there?
Yes, 2000. I was just going to say, when myself and Ray, I mean, I can speak for myself. I've always been intrigued with business brokerage. I was a regional vice president for a long time with the United Franchise Group, so I had dealt with business brokers along the way. And it was something that always intrigued me. And Ray had started a retail franchise concept. And Ray, maybe you could talk a little bit about that for a minute.
Sure. Yeah. Well, with our history in franchising going back to 1986 with Sinorama and having built up many different franchise companies, we felt it was time for us to actually develop. We ended up developing a portal to sell franchises, and that turned into a retail location to offer franchises and brochures. And you know, as the economy was going down at that time, we were looking at, and we were kind of struggling with this. What do we add to make this business more viable? And Bill and I had these conversations about what do we add. And one of them was business brokerage, to be able to sell resales and to get into, we were actually just thinking about the resales and franchising, Jess, initially. And then it became, okay, the business brokerage side. And we actually even had a branding, and we went through that, Bill, right? Remember coming up with the name Biz One and everything that we were doing. And it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And we were kind of starting really from scratch. And, you know, we've had experience, obviously, in building successful franchise systems, but not specifically in business brokerage. But we started off and you know, we got off to what I think was a pretty decent start, but we lacked the experience specifically in the industry. And that's where Andy and Ray connected.
Well, doing deals, like we were used to selling franchises, we weren't used to doing, you know, bigger brokerage deals. And so we did well with the franchise resales and the selling in new franchises, but the brokerage deals kind of that wasn't something that was our expertise. And then I got a call and, you know, the guy said, well, you want to get together with Andy Cagnetta down in Fort Lauderdale. And I had heard Andy's commercials and, you know, and on the radio all the time, and said, you know what, it probably makes sense. He's got a big operation in Fort Lauderdale and we should have dinner. And the two of us, Andy, we had dinner, and I don't know if it was 15 or 20 minutes where one of us looked at the other and said, you know everything about franchising and nothing about business brokerage. And we know everything about business brokerage and nothing about it. And we ended up saying we're the perfect partners in this, right? I mean, that was a fun night too.
It's all about timing too, because it's really interesting. So you guys are starting this franchise brand and business brokerage. And like we talked about in the last segment, Andy and his partners are trying to figure out how to branch off nationally and start franchising. It's one of those, like, it was perfect timing for both of you to meet. So tell us, Andy, a little bit about that conversation and how you knew that this was the right partnership to move forward with.
Yeah, it was funny. We met, I think, first at UFG, and Bill and I and Ray met, and I think I walked away from that meeting, like blown away by UFG. It's an amazing company, and it's very 50,000 square feet. And so I walked away from this like, this can't be real. I mean, I think that was my. It was too good to be true, and that's why I requested the dinner, because I said I got to meet Ray like off the site of UFG to see, like if we would be compatible together. And I really wanted to get our wives together too. It was just something that, I thought would be good for us, both of us. And yeah, we were already sold on the idea before we went to dinner, but once we got to dinner and started breaking bread, we're like, this is perfect. It's really going to work out well.
And it really was. And Andy has been just a phenomenal partner, and our relationship has just grown over the last 12 years and incredibly. And initially, you couldn't be, for both of us, we were kind of used to running our own ships, but we were both really conscious of each other and not trying to overstep ourselves. And in building a business, that's really hard to kind of balance between doing what is right, but being conscious of each other all the time. And so I think Bill was a really good buffer to step in and be that, to be the brand president and to run the brand.
Well, it's funny because as a partnership, you guys have very different personalities and very different ways to kind of attack different problems and things like that, but they complement each other very, very well. There's a cool yin and a yang thing that goes on with both of you guys that's really fun to watch from my standpoint.
But in the early days, again, we came aboard and Ray and Bill had already had about a dozen or so franchisees that were involved with Biz One brokers / Franchise Mart. And so the first kind of thing that we had to do was pitch them all on the idea of changing the name to Transworld. And I have to admit, I've said before, I didn't like the name Transworld, and Bill was all in. Bill's like, no, I love that name. We're going to make this Transworld.
Yeah. So, that was so funny because Bill was that way. I was the same way because Andy's like, well, you could change the name if you want to change the name. And I was like, no, we don't want to change the name. We love the name. Like we loved it and just it fit us perfect, especially for international growth down the road. We could see that with the Transworld name and everything, Andy. So that was so funny. That was one of those times where Andy was just so nice about it, and was like, no, if you guys want to change the name, we can do that and we can work with that. But no, we loved it. We were
trying to get away from the broker name, right? So we had struggled with that for years, that business brokers name and being able to go up market or be able to do other things like franchising. So business brokers, we always felt as a company was kind of holding us back, but we had it already for, almost 20 something years at that point. So they came up with the idea of business advisors. We kind of looked around and I think, just fit really well. And so we were all like that aha moment. That was the perfect name to launch with.
Yeah. Adding the business advisors. I agree with you, Andy. That was the thing that it really needed to, I think, take it to another level and really open it up to the masses more and be able to build and grow the business. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's really, I think it's encompasses everything that we do at this point. So it fits really well. I'm wondering, and Bill, this might be best for you to answer because you were really involved in the early days of converting franchisees and selling new franchisees. What was the response early on? And did you think it was going to become as big as it is. I mean, like, Ray's built giant franchise companies with Sinorama and Fully Promoted. You've been involved in that. Did you see that potential for Transworld in those first couple of years?
I definitely saw the potential because I knew the industry was very kind of underdeveloped, especially from a franchising aspect of building, a successful global brand and things like that. And look, I always knew that this was going to be something great, but it's been 10 times better than I even thought it would be. And I think a lot of that has to do with the partnership. And there's something that's happened with Transworld. And I'd love to tell you, we planned it this way, but we really didn't. Okay. But the people that are generally attracted to Transworld as a business model tend to be top-notch people with executive backgrounds, people with corporate backgrounds, people that have owned their own business. And what happens? You put good people in business, it attracts other good people. Before you know it, you have a network of really, really great business people. That's happened with Transworld, and that's a huge part of our success.
I think, Jess, if I would throw in, I think Bill's 100% right. It's you have this perfect storm of, great quality owners that drive the brand locally. You've got a proven model that's been enhanced over years and years and years with Transworld and Andy's team and what they've done. And then you have the franchising side where we're growing and we have the systems to build and grow a franchise company. So between those three, what we have to do is really just work really hard at keeping things out of everybody's way, and just keep allowing our franchise owners and helping them in any way we can and supporting them and consistently looking for ways to make their life a little easier and free up on paperwork or free up on certain aspects. So I think that all of those things that we're always doing a 1 year and a 3 year plan every single year. And it's constant here that we're always looking to improve. We're always looking to improve the individuals, and we're always looking to improve the brand. And we're going to consistently do that with Transworld.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's funny when I talk to people coming into the system, right? Or people thinking about buying a Transworld. It's exactly how I explain it. Is like you can be a very successful entrepreneur, but with a lot of support for the things that you don't necessarily want to do, right? The process and systems that most entrepreneurs don't love creating. That's why you would become a franchisee, especially in the United Franchise Group family and with Transworld. Ray, kind of to follow up on your question and your response and to take us forward a little bit, what are some of the milestones as a franchisor that Transworld started to hit that you knew it would be a success? And maybe this will be helpful for anyone that's listening that's thinking about potentially franchising their company. Like, what are those milestones you look for?
I think initially, you want to have that first school, that first training, and, you got to get through that and kind of work with those people and help them become successful. But I think as the brand hit 25 and 50, and we knew at that point, like, there was no more question, is this going to be successful or not? It's just then it would become, how successful? Is this going to be our largest brand? Is this going to be, we also did a great competitive analysis and looking at these other companies that were out there. And we just saw so many weaknesses and such a lack of follow-up and professionalism. And I had reached a point at United Franchise Group where we were not dealing with brokers because they were so unprofessional and wouldn't follow back. If they did 3-4 deals, they made enough money for the year, and then they wouldn't return your phone calls. And so, the broker business was not something that had a great reputation when we first started. It was kind of different. We weren't used to it. And I think we've done a lot to change that with Transworld, with to Bill's point, the high quality of owners that we put into business, and then what they're doing with the business and driving the brand locally, getting involved in charities and taking Andy's lead from Andy's Pasta Dinner and really taking that on a local basis and doing their own. And that's great to see. We want, that's what we really want to see, is to make a difference in the local communities as well.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, right? Andy, you really set the tone for the culture of what the organization was going to be. And maybe you can talk a little bit about, because we didn't cover this in the last segment, your charitable efforts, but also how you were trying to lead really a cultural change within the industry through your work with the IBBA and things like that.
Yeah, I've always believed that we needed to step it up, and I still do believe that. And UFG helped us, and I think one of the big milestones was watching our first office get to $1 million in commissions.
Yeah,
And there was someone on this call, so it was you who did that, and just watching other people be successful. Like you said, we were successful in Florida, and we were continuing to grow, and just watch it work elsewhere was really exciting for us. And building that culture of going into a community and becoming the trusted advisor and giving back to the community, things like sitting on boards like I do at the LifeNet. And we started our own charity dinner, which UFG has successfully helped us grow as well to 1,000 people a year. And getting involved in the industry. And we see that not only, I became the IBBA chair, but you've become the president of organizations, and Al, and then Rupesh just took one of our other franchisees just took the gavel at the CVBBA in Virginia. So we're seeing that over and over again of people, like Bill said, high level people that we've attracted to the system and are doing exactly what, we wanted to do. We wanted to take this to another level. So we become trusted advisors in the community by the accountants, by the attorneys, by investment bankers who are doing big deals, who don't know anybody who's doing the smaller, middle market / Main Street deals.
Andy mentioned another milestone that came to my mind. It was when we had a franchise convention, and we started having franchise owners hitting, like a whole bunch of them hitting that 100,000 mark, and it just for to see the number of people that were up there, and that were being called, and the awards from the awards standpoint. At that point, I don't know. I think maybe we were 5-6 years in. Bill, does that make about sense at that time? And it was really incredible to see the amount of people that hit those numbers. And then everybody else knew, like, holy cow, if they did it, we can do it. And then it kind of went from there, didn't it?
Yes, that's one of the most incredible things that we've seen with Transworld is just the bar keeps going up and up and up, and there's no end in sight. It just keeps raising. And I think there's an energy, there's a passion, there's an enthusiasm that surrounds this brand that I don't see in a lot of other businesses, industries. It's an excitement, it's electric. And it's just so satisfying to see the success that our franchisees and brokers are having. It's incredible. Yeah. We love it.
Yeah. Which ultimately means too, we're achieving success for our clients, right? Just the sheer number of businesses that are sold every year throughout the network. And I think I want to get into the international stuff, but we can continue this part. We're talking about just like where we've grown to today in the US market. And I don't know who wants to tackle that, like how large this thing has become and how many clients we are serving on an annual basis. It's a lot. So.
Well, we're in 47 out of the 50 states here domestically. We have coverage throughout the entire United States, which helps our clients tremendously because we're able to service them not only on a local level, but people move from all over the place, and we're able to help them sell their business. We're able to help clients buy businesses and buy franchises. All that is attributed to the size of our network, which is incredible.
Well,
yeah, there's over 700.
Go ahead, Andy.
No, there's over 700 brokers. I think we almost have 5,000 listings. We're going to sell in excess of $1 billion worth of businesses this year. It's just this, the size is just incredible, and it continues to grow, as Bill said, and internationally. And that's really, what UFG brought to the table. You talked about the excitement. So I have to say, being in a room of business brokers is usually not the most exciting thing in the world. But UFG, UFG has an energy, and it's always on go, grow. And they brought a certain level of excitement to the business and to even We were talking about it on the last podcast about the guys in Florida just say how invigorated they were and how inspired in the systems that, UFG brought that helped them do better. And so we're seeing that. And then Ray, has been growing his brands for years internationally, and he's the guru of that. And he's just done a great job. You could talk about that, Ray.
Well, sure. We are in 80 countries. I don't know if that qualifies me for guru status.
It does.
As we've built up our company, we've seen tremendous opportunities, and Transworld has just fit in so perfect. Look, when you look at the Transworld business model, it's incredible. You don't have manufacturing equipment. There's no inventory. You're not hiring a lot of employees. You can build it very quickly. There's not rent. There's not equipment payments. There's not all these other things that come with most other businesses. And it's very rare to find a business that if you sell one person, one thing, and you can pay your whole investment back, that's really incredible as well. So we have people that have done that, and it's incredible to see, them be able to take this business to another level. And we're seeing it. Just the way we built our company, each one of our brands has been on the success of the franchisees. The better they are, the better we are. But they tell us, as what works, what doesn't work. Boy, it'd be great if you did a little more of this or that or whatever. We get our best ideas from our franchise owners. So all we have to do is ask the questions or listen and then facilitate those ideas across all the brand, across the whole country and out there. And that's part of what Bill's job is to get him and his team to facilitate those great ideas and to be able to take them out. And from what they see at conferences or what they see as they travel around the world and get these great ideas, because they come from everywhere, and to be able to apply them in the business model and keep looking to improve the business. I think, like Bill, last year, the addition of, the $1 million position that we talked about, right? That was a great addition to the system, wasn't it?
Well, absolutely. And look, I think it's okay to be proud of what we have accomplished, but we're not satisfied. And we're always looking to get better and improve and find new streams of income for our franchisees and make it easier for our franchisees to sell larger deals as well as other types of deals. We're never going to be satisfied. We're always growing. And I credit, both of you guys for kind of steering the ship and pushing that to make sure we're providing the best possible systems to our franchisees.
Now I know where my husband gets happy, not satisfied from.
Right.
But, I think that's what Ray was talking about, what you built on, Bill, it's a really good learning lesson for entrepreneurs, right? Because essentially you just described your role as the franchisor is to listen to your customer, the franchisee, take the feedback, try and apply and make your service better. Right. And I think we can all take that in any business that we're in and I know that's even that's your mission statement at United Franchise Group, right? When the franchisee is successful, you're successful. So really important learning lesson. Hey, I'm just wondering what country was the first international expansion for Transworld? I don't know if I know this. Do you guys remember?
The first country. Where did we go first, guys?
Was it the UK?
I think it might have been.
I think it was the United Kingdom. I think it was. That or Australia. No,
yeah,
I think
Australia,
UK came before Australia with this brand.
Yeah, it was close, but I can't remember exactly which one came first. It was roughly the same time.
And Bill and Ray, you guys have been involved in international expansions before, but Andy, what was your role changing throughout this process from, running a very successful business in Florida, but being a Florida focused business? Now you've got franchisees all across the US and in multiple countries. How did your role or perspective change as an entrepreneur?
It changed to just trying to understand the norms of business brokerage across the world. Obviously I was pretty well in tune to the United States, being involved with the IBBA and being involved. And I had some international exposure, but, Ray and Bill gave us a lot of help. And there's two kind of sides to the story. One side is you have to adapt to the local, rules and regulations. On the other side, you have to be forceful enough to say, no, this works and it'll work here too. And Ray has some famous stories of when he went to other countries and people say, well, that doesn't work here. And Ray had to straighten them out.
Oh yeah. I remember, Andy, with Sinorama, when we went to Australia, they said, we don't cold call here. You can't go out in the business community like that and cold call. No. I said, well, we're going to, that's what we're going to do. And so Andy's 100% right. You want to localize the business, but you don't want to give up your values and everything that made you successful in the first place. So you kind of balance between that. You might spell a word differently. You may, handle things a little differently. But there are some things you just cannot give up on. And you just have to be really, really strong about holding on to certain things that are like that are critical.
It's interesting. When we started franchising, Andy laid this great foundation that was laid in Florida. We started franchising and we come across people that say, well, that works in Florida, but is it going to work in Texas? Is it going to work in New York? Is it going to work? It works everywhere. And it's the same thing internationally. People say, yes, that works in the United States. That works in Canada. Is it going to work here? The answer is yes. It works everywhere.
Well, what do we joke, Jess, here at United Franchise Group all the time with people, even domestic or international. I can't tell you how many people come up to me and say, my area is different.
All of them.
Or everyone says it. My area is different. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's Minnesota. It doesn't matter if it's Omaha, Nebraska. It doesn't matter if it's Barcelona. Every area is, and I recognize that. Yeah, every area is different. But every area has businesses and they all need to be sold. And, this is how we do it and we grow. The other thing that we joke about, everybody has this great area where the largest regional mall is being built in my area. Okay. They'll actually say that. And I will go from area to area to area to area. And I've heard, the largest regional mall is being built in our area 1,000 times. Okay. So it's incredible. But at the base of this, the system works. If you work at it and you apply it, now, are there tweaks that have to be made? Look, I would tell you there's tweaks between doing business in New York, where I grew up, and doing business in Texas, or doing business in California, or doing business in the United Kingdom. Every area has some differences to it, without a doubt. But it's anywhere from 2% to 8%. Like, it's not this 100% difference. It's it needs to be tweaked. It needs to be localized, but you don't give up the core of the business. You don't change what made you successful and who you are.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what makes the franchising model successful. But like, even if we take a step back, like with globalization, even with globalization of small to mid-sized businesses, I think what we've learned is that, humans are humans, right? So how we do business with each other really doesn't drastically change that much. But I do have to say, I think I probably was one of those. My area was different at some point. I have brokers on my team who are still like, well, the western slope of Colorado is different than Denver. I'm like, Christ, it's like 2 hours away, like it's
Right.
not that different. Right. So yeah, I get it. And now I've been in the system long enough that I repeat what I've learned from you guys when I get those calls. And yeah.
I remember having a conversation with Al when he was telling me you guys were almost sold out, and I almost fell on the ground. I was like, sold out? You're not even close to, and we started having these conversations. And he was like, you know what? After giving that a little thought, we really haven't done that much business in this area or that area or this. And you start thinking about it. And we've had that internationally too. We had a master license that did a trade show booth, and he had all the locations on a map. And he said, we're sold out. I said, then why are you here? Like, why are you at a trade show telling everybody you're sold out? You want to be able to market and promote your business to everybody. And so it's kind of funny. It does go full circle, Jess, once you've been in the business long enough.
Yeah. So we've obviously, as a brand, had a lot of success. I know strategic planning is still about a month or two away, but where do the three of you see Transworld going now? I mean, we're the number one business brokerage in the world. I don't think we've thrown that stat out there yet, but I mean, overwhelmingly successful. And I think beyond anything the three of you thought, what's next for the brand? Andy, you want to go first?
I'm just really excited about the continue. I feel like, Ray talk about sold out. I think we're like 25% there. I mean, it's just so much upside, and not only in the locations, but in our ability to reach the business owners and the franchisors that want to sell their businesses. And I think we have just started to connect and do deals together. We just did that multi-million-dollar deal between Florida and Boston and, Massachusetts. And we're seeing our franchisees being successful in selling businesses literally across, not only state lines, but international as well. And I think we're going to continue to build out that opportunity for people to sell deals cross-border. We just brought on the UAE. Very excited to see investment from the UAE come into the United States, and same time us to be able to export ideas and franchises into the Middle East. And I think that's going to continue. We're seeing, Henry Ziff have incredible M&A opportunities, and us go back and forth with his franchisees like Ken. And it's just, I think there's going to be a lot more of that. We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, I agree. Bill, why don't we go to you next, and then Ray, you'll wrap us up.
Totally agree with Andy. Andy's always said from the very beginning that he wants Transworld to be kind of the global trading floor for small business. We're becoming that. And totally agree with Andy. We have not even scratched the surface of what we're capable of doing with this brand. The growth this brand has experienced and will continue to experience is going to be unmatched in franchising. I mean, we're growing faster than the number 2, 3, 4, and 5 competitors in this industry combined. There aren't a lot of franchises that can make that claim. Again, very, very exciting, but our best years are ahead of us.
I couldn't agree more with both Andy and Bill, Jess. I think that we see incredible, the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years are going to be amazing. And you're just going to see this constant march to more listings, higher quality listings, higher value listings. And it's just each one of those areas are growing for our brands and more franchisees. So also adding more agents. And so as you keep looking at all of these metrics, and as the CEO in our organization, I'm always seeing numbers and metrics. And whenever we talk about Transworld, every single one of the metrics are going in the right direction. They're all very positive. And again, no matter what happens out there, if we get into a bad recession or things change, and look, we started doing this during a recession. We started doing this during much worse times. So I would tell you, I would expect us to be able to do exactly what we did during the pandemic, which is we pivoted the business, we kept growing it, we kept expanding. Maybe not this type of business, we had that type of business. Maybe it wasn't done this way. All of a sudden, now we're on Zoom and Google Meets, and we're doing deals with DocuSign and getting deals done. And we actually have gotten more deals done during the pandemic. So we're going to just keep pivoting this business forward. I think the next 3 years are going to be amazing, Jess. It's just, for us, we just continue to look for ways to improve on it. And if we stay focused that way, it's funny how it happens. You just keep getting better, and you keep more good things are going to happen, and more opportunities are going to come before us. And whether we see an opportunity for an acquisition, whether there's technology plays that we can add to the Transworld platform and everything that we do, no matter what we're going to do, Andy, myself, Bill, and the team here, we're going to group together, and we're going to get feedback from the franchise owners and make sure we're doing the right things moving forward that enhance their business and make it better. And that's our focus.
That's awesome. It's going to be an incredible road ahead. I mean, our leaders, the three of you who have built and run this brand from a franchise perspective, have done a great job and are going to continue leading us forward and really providing the foundation of the business. So thank you all for doing this interview. On our next segment, we're going to flip, and Andy's actually going to lead the last part of the segment about the Transworld brand. And he's going to interview a few of the franchisees that we've mentioned on today's call. So thank you guys all, Bill, Ray, Andy, for your leadership and for joining us on the deal board today.
Hey, Jessica, you know what time it is?
Money time?
Almost. It's time for listing of the week. Hey, we're back, and it is listing of the week, and we are talking with Rob Radanovich from Transworld Business Advisors of Central Oregon. And you just mentioned the name of the deal. Don't mention the name, but what kind of deal was it?
You know, Andy, we've got an amazing business for sale here. It's a truck repair business that does heavy equipment and also has actually 3 additional revenue streams that are tied to it.
How much are they asking?
2.95 million, and that also comes with land. It has a beautiful piece of real estate. It is a prime piece of real estate.
And business owners are looking to exit. Why?
You know, they're ready to retire.
Right.
I've heard of it before.
We've heard of this before. We are seeing more baby boomers retire than ever before. And this is a growing business, obviously.
Yeah, actually, it's been a really steady business. And what's interesting is they brought a new revenue stream in to make the 3rd or 4th actual revenue stream that is going to add directly to the bottom line with virtually no additional cost to the business. So it's a real opportunity for somebody now.
It's a great opportunity for someone. Rob, what's the best way to get in touch with you if somebody wants to learn more?
Rob Radanovich, 559-801-8233.
Excellent. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks, Andy.
Hey, Andy, do you know what time it is? It's time for our deal of the week.
Deal of the week.
Sold.
Hey, welcome back. And we have George Albright from Transworld Business Advisors of
Richland Hills.
There you go.
Here, Andy.
Yes, got to be here. So it is a great area of Texas, and you have a great deal.
Yeah, it's we have the territory, North Richland Hills, which is between Dallas and Fort Worth. We have a farmers captive insurance agency in Cleburne, Texas, just southwest of Fort Worth. Great opportunity. The owner is in ill health. We have a nice SBA loan attached to it, pre-approved through a preferred lender. And right now it's at a very good price at around $750,000. The book of business, 2,200 PIF and policies in force. So it's a great springboard for anyone in the farmers group that is looking to extend their business, extend their book, and really take on a great territory.
Yeah, it sounds like a great territory. More people are moving here. More people are going to need insurance, and
Absolutely.
Farmers is a good name. And I know they sell very well, insurance companies. So if somebody wants to get more information, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
George Albright at Transworld, G Albright at tworld.com.
There you go. Thanks, George.
Hey, thanks, Andy.
Thanks for tuning into the show today. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends on social media. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcasting app. If you have questions, would like to appear, or have suggestions for topics for the show, get in contact with us through our website, thedealboardpodcast.com.